horizon for widespread adoption? Yes, that is something I'm going to be covering as well. Andy, great question. Henry, what are the use cases you are seeing being relevant to corporate RE in the workplace? Absolutely. We are going to talk about all that. So let me get started. I am grateful and challenged. I have 15 minutes to cover this. And in my background, I just came off an 8-day speaking tour with Lenovo and NVIDIA. NVIDIA has a whole metaverse division that they're developing. And as there are very few women in artificial intelligence, visual intelligence. So I do a lot of speaking with Intel and all of these huge companies. And as I'll share, AI is the beginning of what will be the metaverse. So an understanding of AI, especially visual AI, is going to help with the metaverse as well. So let me get into it right here. And all right. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on. So this was just in the news. Mark Zuckerberg to investors, expect nothing from the metaverse. That was just a caption of what he said for the next 10 years. So a friend of mine is an SVP at a multi-billion-dollar company. He has been tasked for building the data center that will house Facebook's metaverse. It is the biggest expenditure they have ever undertaken, and my friend is helming it. So I have some very interesting insight into what Facebook is doing, and I'm going to talk about that. I refuse to call them Meta, even though that's their new name. All right, Microsoft is selling the metaverse, and it's helping everything from robots to ketchup. Yeah. And then virtual clubbing points to future profits from the metaverse. So one of the questions that came up is how do we look at this from B2B? So we are going to explore some different use cases. And when we put you into your groups, and you're going to have groups of 4 coming up in just about 12 minutes, this is going to be your time for discussion. And when Brigitte and I were creating this for you, for all of you, we want to make sure you had ample time to start to think about this. So when you're thinking about B2B, that there are going to be massive business opportunities for individuals and companies in the metaverse. We'll talk about that. So here's the thing, a little bit about my background. So in addition to speaking for MIT, I'm also an MIT student. So a few years ago when I co-founded RadiusAI, and we have offices in Phoenix, in Seattle, in Bangalore, and Turkey, then I went back to school because I haven't written a line of code since 1992. And a lot of people in the business side of tech really aren't coders. Steve Jobs wasn't a coder, but I really wanted to understand not just artificial intelligence, but where we were going with technology. So at MIT, we do a lot of studying on things like fully autonomous vehicles. So I just wrote this down. If you're taking notes, I want you to really think about this. For the same reason we are not all driving fully autonomous vehicles, we will not be living in the metaverse in the near future. However, companies are leveraging metaverse applications right now. And metaverse technology is a new frontier that is so complex, it requires vision, planning, a phased approach, resources, and the right team. So for you as investors, as business leaders, as thought leaders, I want you to pause for a minute and just think about this. Because at Radius, as an example, we're exploring different metaverse applications to enhance our existing portfolio for our customers. So we specialize in enterprise B2B. We are doing one of the largest, well, it's probably the largest computer vision deployment with a national retailer that has ever been done. Most AI computer vision does not get out of the pilot stage, and Radius is doing 1,000 location deployment. And so just like computer vision is a new frontier, metaverse is a new frontier. So I want you to think about this for a minute, because we're going to come into this in our small groups, that who is going to be the visionary that is going to lead this charge? Who is going to help with the planning? What is the phased approach going to be after this? You've had 3 different experts speaking on this, and resources and the right team. And I don't think anyone is a metaverse expert. The metaverse is so new. Like, it's just, I'm not a metaverse expert by any stretch of the imagination. However, I'm in a lot of the right rooms, the right conversations with the people who are building the technological infrastructure. So is there money in this? There is a lot of money to be made. Metaverse market size worth 1.5 trillion. with a CAGR of 47.6. Like, seriously, compound annual growth rate between now and 2029. Would you all agree? Just say yes in the chat that that's a significant amount of money. Just in the chat right now, if you agree. That, so why is it that people, companies, thanks Brian, why is it, Liam, Peter, Henry, yes, so follow the money, right? So why are companies really taking a look at this? Thank you, Amir. It's because there is a significant amount of money to be made. So a little bit about me, my background. So I co-founded RadiusAI with 4 partners back in 2018, and we specialize in AI computer vision in the convenience store space and also the QSR space, so quick serve restaurants. And so what we're doing with our vision application is we're integrating into existing security cameras, and in real time at the edge, we're anonymously doing customer journey, dwell time, queue length, delays, who's the primary customer, who is the companion, what are the relationships of the people who are coming into the store, coming from the vehicle. We're doing lot analytics. I mean, that's just a soundbite for what it is we do. I just was speaking with at the National Restaurant Association and in a talk sponsored by NVIDIA. And NVIDIA, if you are in the B2B space, NVIDIA is a company you want to reach out to help you architect your metaverse plans. And I also, in addition to having a podcast that goes to 131 countries in the world, I just founded a startup incubator for women who do not have a tech background, but they have a great idea, a problem they want to solve, and turn it into a tech company. So just a lot going on. All right, so let's talk about technology progression. So the question is, where are we? Where are we going? What's the far future? And I'm going to talk about that right now. So here we are right now, AI, vision, and voice. So we all trained Facebook's algorithm. So if you resent Facebook, but you had a Facebook account, you actually annotated their data for them. So let's say I'm on Facebook and it's circa 2009, and Facebook says, who is this in the photo with you? And you tag your friend Brian. Okay, so then the next thing, you go on Facebook and you have another photo with Brian. It's like, Susan, is this Brian? And like, you're yes. That is annotating data, and we built Facebook for them. We built this massive company. So I laugh when people are resenting Zuckerberg and stuff like that. I'm like, we all did that because I was a Facebook early adopter. So AI, in terms of vision and voice, if you are talking to your Alexa, you're talking to Siri, she'll probably turn on because I just said her name. If you are, have any smart devices in your home and you're using voice, that is called NLP, natural language processing, and that has come a long way. This is all foundational to be able to build in the metaverse. And then AI vision is where we're using vision to be able to not just monitor people, but to be able to engage with them. And NVIDIA has this brand new restaurant kiosk where you're literally engaging with an avatar, and it can be whatever avatar that the restaurant wants. And it's very realistic. The voice sounds incredibly human. It's absolutely incredible. So that is the foundational technology. So I am also a tech investor. I invest in startups. And so I look for these 4 areas for my personal investments because this is the space that I am in. Next is the blockchain. The blockchain is relatively new, but you need this in order to really develop what will be B2B use cases in the metaverse. And if you hold crypto in your portfolio, just ignore it right now. The whole market's down anyway. But the foundation of all of it is in the blockchain and being able to execute these smart contracts. And then, of course, we have AR, VR, so augmented reality, virtual reality, and all of these things make the metaverse possible. So let's talk about metaverse reality now, near future, and distant future. So the metaverse right now. So here's how we can capitalize and implement metaverse technology now. These are just 8 things that I can share with you. There are countless others. So recently at Radius, we decided we wanted to have new offices because we're growing out of our current offices. So I went to a undeveloped site, and they gave me a pair of VR glasses and it's a pointer essentially. And so I put this on, and the real estate agent is like, just point. And so you point, and then you suddenly are thrust into a common area, or what's going to be the gym, or what's going to be like the bar, what's going to be, whatever. And then you're touring the offices. So I'm on this construction site touring the undeveloped real estate in VR, and that is happening now. And I feel very bad for anyone in real estate who's not using this technology, because it's essential. Most humans, 68% of humans, are visual learners, and they are not going to really understand. You can give the best audio tour, but unless you cast a vision and create that visual. Next, investing in metaverse real estate, that is happening now. Valuations have dropped, but before we had the crypto drop, we were seeing there was a Canadian company that just paid, I think, 10 million US for a piece of metaverse in Decentraland. I was looking at investing in Decentraland myself. It's just one of the many metaverses. And just know there are multiple metaverses. You've probably been told this. Metaverse retail. So when I was at the National Retail Association big show in January in New York, you have companies like Ralph Lauren, Revlon. They're investing millions upon millions in metaverse retail. Dolce & Gabbana, they did a capsule collection, and so you could go in and buy for your avatar. You could buy a Dolce & Gabbana outfit. I think it was like $300 to $500, but in the real world, a Dolce & Gabbana outfit is going to be $5,000 to $8,000, pardon me, or more. So big companies are doing metaverse in fashion. They're doing a ton of metaverse fashion shows. And then on top of it, companies like Walmart, in terms of creating NFTs that are available in the metaverse, they have applied for 8 metaverse patents. Planning and operational efficiency in commercial operations, putting on the glasses, being able to look at if we move this counter here, this machine here, what is it going to look like? Virtual meetings, those are happening now. Treating depression, PTSD, and addiction, even though this is a business event, I want to always bring, it's just who I am, a heart piece to it. And my friend, Dr. Brenda Wiederhold, is leading the charge on that. NFTs to access events, not tickets, over the weekend. VCon, Gary V's event. I've done speaking events with Gary. You could only enter his event with an NFT. There were no tickets available. And then digital twins products. So Revlon has a whole metaverse division, and so what they are doing is they're saying, hey, if you buy our mascara in the real world, you have mascara, but our NFT mascara will shoot flames out of your eyelashes for your avatar. And people, prior to the crypto crash, were eating this up and spending a ton of money. And so the crypto crash is just a crash. If you read charts, it's the same as the stock market crash. I'm not here to give you investment advice, but I do, full disclosure, have a crypto portfolio. All right, so virtual New York City commercial real estate sold for $2.4 million. So people are right now buying virtual real estate. And you might be saying, well, Susan, which metaverse? There's Roblox metaverse, there is Decentraland metaverse, there's going to be all sorts of different ones. And you really have to take a look at these. Think of them like cities, that there are cities that would make sense for you to invest in, and there are cities that might not make sense for you to invest in. And that's why having a team member that all they do when they're exploring metaverse is say which metaverse makes sense for us. And it might not necessarily be the one that everyone else is going to. So Skechers signs lease for Digital Land in Decentraland. Decentraland is one of the big metaverses. You can go on the Decentraland website. You can buy some Decentraland, real estate in there, to add to your portfolio if that's something that you want to do. And let's talk about the near future. So near future, digital twins of all of our favorite products. So remember I talked about the mascara? That is called a digital twin. So Revlon says the digital twin of our mascara shoots flames out of your eyelashes. So we're going to see digital twins of all of our favorite products. So the hypothesis is that I like Starbucks in the real world, so my avatar is going to pay for Starbucks in Decentraland drinking virtual coffee. But we're seeing this, and it's amazing what people will spend money on. Outfitting our metaverse homes with NFTs, that is starting to happen now, but that is going to be more mainstream. Blockchain technology to enable smart contracts in the metaverse, especially for metaverse real estate, greater demand for metaverse enabled work for employees. So right now, we are seeing, and my heart just breaks for the families in Texas. As a mom, I have 5 kids, I have 2 grandkids, and we are going to see, whether it's a pandemic or shooting or whatever it is, or a natural disaster, employees are going to want to work more virtually, and that is coming. We are already seeing a 68% demand for a hybrid workforce, and I really believe in real estate that there is going to be a greater demand, not only for hybrid, but that it's not going to be a Zoom meeting, it's going to be metaverse enabled for employees, and that's what Facebook is working on. Metaverse education, our kids will go to school in metaverse classrooms, and digital assets will overtake analog assets for Gen Z. So we saw this past Christmas was the first time that kids, so the next gen after Z is Alpha, that Gen Alpha kids, more of them requested digital items as opposed to analog. So they weren't requesting games of Clue or Barbie. The only analog asset that was still really high on the list was actually Lego, interestingly enough. So when you think about it, this is going to be the very near future. So if you're getting ready for Christmas or any holiday down the road, just keep in mind a lot of that shopping is going to be digital assets. And that's why Ralph Lauren, Dolce & Gabbana, even Walmart, that's why they're getting ready to have full stores with all sorts of metaverse products. And so, as I said, digital gifts dominate kids' Christmas wish lists. Walmart is not quietly preparing to enter the metaverse. They are openly preparing the metaverse. As I said, they have got 8 patents. They are looking at their own cryptocurrency. Right now, there are thousands of cryptocurrencies. However, the reality is that a company as large as Walmart could demand a use of its own cryptocurrency. Let's talk about the distant future. So spending more time in the metaverse than the real world. So these are again some speculative things, because when we come to metaverse, there are so many aspects. There's the monetary aspect, then there's the psychological aspect. So we have psychologists, we have people, economists, who are speculating, are we going to spend more time in the metaverse than the real world? And a lot of people do feel that the real world is a letdown, and we're seeing it with Gen Z, who came up gaming, and they love their metaverse avatar. They can be who they want. Even my son is on the autism spectrum, and for someone like my son, he doesn't have any physical limitations, but let's say in the metaverse, then he doesn't have a learning difference. He can be whoever he wants to be. And so we have kids right now who are meeting up in these gaming groups, and they're in their avatars, they have different names, and because these kids are now coming into adulthood, they're turning 17, 18, 19, they're so used to spending hours per day in the metaverse. The question is, as they come into adulthood, is that going to change? Metaverse care homes. I am very passionate about senior care applications in the metaverse, and I'm actually just, full disclosure, working, down the road. My next company will be in this space. Greater influence of metaverse in the real world. So right now, our real world influences our metaverse, but what we will see is the reverse of that. I imagine that the metaverse is going to influence our real world even more. Enhanced metaverse vacations. We're seeing metaverse weddings right now. Metaverse passports. So I want to go from one metaverse land, like Decentraland, to another one. Will I have to have a passport? Digital twins of full cities. Singapore is working on a digital twin in the metaverse of its full city. And then metaverse employment opportunities where you work full-time in the metaverse. This is a scene from Ready Player One. And how many of you saw this movie? Just say me in the chat. Peter loves it. Yeah, I highly recommend. Sarah saw it. I highly recommend, rewatching it if you want to understand the metaverse and and you guys are amazing. Here we are on a Wednesday and so engaged in the chat. I really appreciate it. That here's this kid and he literally is living in a shipping container, but in the metaverse he is this essentially superhero. And then when it pans out, you see all of these people living in shipping containers, but they have these glasses and their metaverse lives are richer than their actual lives. And so the question is that where we're going? I don't know the answer, but here's what I do know is that once our minds are expanded, they can't go back to the original form, right? So we know that because of this, it's up to all of us to be responsible as business leaders and investors. And so one of the things I always say, especially when people question AI, is good people create good technology. So if you're a good person and you're investing in good projects, then those are going to do good things. And I'm just going to finish quickly with this before we go into discussion groups. So as I mentioned, Dr. Brenda Wiederhold, who is on the right, there we are drinking wine. She is, if you look her up, she is leading the charge with VR technology for healing. And so she is working with soldiers who have PTSD. She's working with people who are depressed. She's working with people who've attempted suicide. She's working with people who are addicts. And she is successfully using VR technology to help them heal and transform and empower them. And Brenda and I have had a lot of conversations on using the metaverse for good. And I really feel, it can be scary at times when you really think about it, but lots of things can, right? But I really feel that there are a lot of good things that are going to come out of the metaverse. We're going to see a lot of empowerment for people. And I think that if we just are very conscious about it and we're very deliberate, we can actually do some amazing things and obviously make a lot of money. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the share. And I'm just looking at all the comments in the chat. What is one thing, we're going to go into groups super quick, but in the chat, what is one thing from my brief presentation that you picked up? One thing, super quick. And it might not even be one specific thing. It could just be even like, a feeling or a concept. Metaverse care homes. Yes, I'm so passionate about that, Henry, that I would take the rest of our time talking about that. But just to give you a short glimpse into Metaverse care homes is that I want you to imagine, especially because of COVID, a lot of elderly people were trapped in horrible situations where they could not leave their rooms. And it was depressing. People died. And imagine if they had an escape and they could put on a pair of glasses and they could live in Paris, they could visit Italy, they could do anything they wanted to do, even though they were in bed. I think that Metaverse care homes are going to be, you heard it from me, that's a place I'm definitely going to invest in the future. I think it's going to be massive. And, if you want to talk about that more, by all means, reach out to me on LinkedIn, Susan Sly, and we can have a discussion. Paul says, Generation Alpha wanting more digital assets than physical ones. My kids don't want physical things anymore. They don't want physical things at all, which I'm super grateful for. Impact of creating a mimic city.
Susan, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think we're running a little bit out of time. I think it's very exciting, and I will be super excited about all those conversations that relate to all our lives in different aspects, not only the corporate real estate world. So lots of interest, but in the essence of time, maybe we might want to separate our groups and have like a 10 minutes, and then we'll spend the rest of the time afterwards to debrief. So our ladies at Development Group are going to put you in rooms for the next 10 minutes where you're going to look at those questions on the screen here and just, brainstorm with each other, on those questions. We were going to ask you to have one scribe and one spokesperson who will then report their findings. We may not have the time to go through all the teams since we have about 12 groups, but we'll do that the best we can. Looking forward to speaking with you all in about 10 minutes. Please go ahead and let's all go in our rooms.
Sorry, Brigitte, one thing is your slide number will correspond to your group number. So if you're in group 4, use slide 4, and then we'll be coming back and having discussions. And Courtney, I'd love, if I had more time, I would give more specific use cases, as 15 minutes goes very fast. But I'm looking forward to the discussions, and we'll come back, and then we'll be calling on the speaker for your group, and let's have some great discussion.
Tommy, you are not assigned a room? They did not give you a room.
Oh, you know what? It's fine because I have to log off anyway.
Okay, no worries.
So I'm gonna miss you. I'll do the recording.
Thank you for your time. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
I also didn't get a room, but that's okay.
Okay. Can you please, Tian, can you help Laura? And whomever doesn't have a room, it would be great because I see that there are a few other people.
I got it. Thanks.
You're welcome. I think we have a few more people, Tian, if I may. Peter, Alison, Joe, Brian are still here. We still have a few people. Sorry, Mike's Zoom is still here. Alison, Joe, Brian.
And if you click your the 4 squares, join breakout room, it's get breakout room. Don't join a breakup room, a breakout room. Sorry, people are private.
Where does it say breakup room?
At the bottom beside record that says join breakout room, so people can direct click there.
Funny.
And then when we do this generally, anyone who's left in this group that didn't get in a breakout room, we just do the discussion here and they fill in one of the slides.
Okay, beautiful. So Alison and Joe, you can just go in a breakout room, not a breakup one. Ian, can you help them to go in a breakout room?
Yes, I know Alison didn't want to be joined. She's in between meetings.
Okay, no problem. And Joe, yeah. No worries.
I added him to the room, but he didn't join it. So
it might be a little bit offline or something. No problem. No problem. One thing we didn't do here was to give people the link to the PowerPoint, right? Or were you able to put it? You did?
I dropped it in the chat.
Oh, you drop it. Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much. Sorry. Great. Wow, this is fascinating, Susan. It is fascinating. Even with the home care, the veterans, I mean, the people that have addictions, all these aspects, which I didn't think about this before. Nobody talked about it before, and it's unbelievable. Unbelievable what it's going to do, right?
Thank you. Yeah, and I think with technology, I get this a lot, because it can be scary depending. So I always like to bring the positive, practical implications that are happening.
Yes, absolutely. It's good because yes, it's hard otherwise to conceptualize, right? And it's good that that really is, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Yes, the world we're going to live in 20 years is going to be another very different one, today.
I want to make sure they all know to fill in the slides because no one's filling in their slides yet.
Yeah, so I'm going to put in the chat. I don't know if they're seeing those, but I'll just leave it like this. So when they come back, you'll take it from there, right? And just would you like me to keep this on? Well, yeah, if they fill it out.
Nice to be home.
Welcome back, everybody.
You might want to mute I don't know if you plan to leave the mics open, but they're open.
I think somebody is not on mute.
No, that's my point. My point is everybody will be off mute when they come back.
Okay. So Tian, could you please mute everybody? All right. I guess let me just do a quick check, but I guess we're all right. Let's keep going. Susan, all yours.
Perfect. We might not get to all of the groups, but I love the participation. And one of the visions that for this is that this is how we work at MIT. So if any of you have done classes at MIT, we will always go into slides. And then that way, after the event, all of the ideas are sent to you, so that if there's something you pick up on that's from someone else's group, you have something else. And so anyway, let's get started. I would love to hear from group one. I'm very curious just in terms of especially, the cross-functional team and what you're thinking there. So who is the spokesperson for group one?
I don't think we created one, but I'm happy to talk to it. And it's Alex Batesh. Yeah, we were just talking about, first off, figuring out, is your business extendable to the metaverse? Do the problems that you solve in your business, are they consistent in the metaverse? And if so, when? And by figuring that out, then where, what, depending on the type of company you are, who should be leading this effort. We have a tech company. So for us, I would be engaging deeply on this with product, because that's what we sell. But I think it depends on each company and what they're selling and how that extends into the metaverse. And then from there, in terms of implementing or investing in anything for the metaverse, it's really figuring out, if you're dependent on a certain level of adoption in the metaverse to even invest in it, you should be monitoring those dependencies and identify what level of adoption should we actually execute our plan or start executing our plan, and when and how should we gate it so that we can slowly progress with the slow adoption of something so large.
That was brilliant, Alex, and thank you. And I think that having questions that you can bring back to the team, right? So is our business extendable to the metaverse? Or let's say our business is extendable to the metaverse, but we just might not see it yet. So do we need to have another seat at the table, or do we really need to carve out some time to sit there and say, okay, let's have a discussion. If our primary assumption is we are extendable to the metaverse, because if we're not, we might not have the longevity that we think we could have, then what would it look like, and what would those phases look like from a toe in the water up to something more robust? But I absolutely love that. Thank you so much. That's great. All right, I'm going to go to group four. Group four, do you have a spokesperson? Or do you want to volunteer someone to speak for you?
Carlos, do you want to speak, or?
Sure, I can speak here. So first, similar to group one, this idea of a cross-functional team across HR, IT, business partners, workplace and real estate specialists. That's definitely important. I think really focus on number two. I thought was a really keynote was just how to make sure it's equitable and inclusive, which may be a challenge, at the moment with, technology, and and the cost of it as well, to make sure it's implementable across various, across the globe, regardless of a region or location, geography, or income level. And then 3, focused on piloting and iterating, as needed. So try out, pilot in certain locations and see how did it work out and how it can be improved.
I love that, Carlos, and I'm gonna give you a bit of a different optic of maybe someone to have in those discussions, because keep in mind, this is so new. They're just having the discussions, right? And it's maybe, having this team that meets every couple months and, starts to ideate. But I would also have design in there. So one of the things we're seeing in technology, whether it's robotics or AI, my son is a design major, he's interning at Radius this summer, is none of it happens without design. And not just industrial design, but graphic design when you're thinking about metaverse applications. So having your creatives in that room, it really is going to be a fun conversation with Art of the Possible. We're going to quickly hear from groups 2 and 3, about 1 minute each, and then we'll go into some Q&A. So these are great. All right, group 2, you are up.
I guess I'll pop in there. We've got 3 responses. Digital twins for net zero impact perspective. So it's one of my colleagues was talking about how they're doing that today, and I thought that was fantastic. So it's a great way. We wanted to highlight that to plant the seed. And then the other concept that we talked about was how to have this seamless connection between the virtual world and the physical space, because right now, as we're even experiencing hybrid working, we are flipping, like when you go to the office now, those are the people that are causing the trouble of like being on mute or not being able to use their technology. So 2 years from now, we should be in a space where we can flip between virtual and physical very easily and seamlessly. It should just work. And then, of course, the example that you gave about showing space and construction and the potential of what space could look like, that's something that could be done today.
Thank you, Becky. That's fantastic. And the Amir put a great article in there, so I'm going to suggest everyone click the link and just bookmark it for as soon as we're done. And all right, let's hear from our last group, group 3. Who's going to be voluntold to be the spokesperson?
I can do it. We
All right,
talked
Courtney.
about how we're still trying to kind of see the metaverse place in the professional environment, and kind of wrap our heads around what the metaverse is. I know one thing that my group mentioned was there's this trend of the younger generation actually wanting to come into the workplace post-COVID, but a metaverse environment kind of would go against that. We're struggling to kind of see the adoption there, since it doesn't provide for in-person interaction that many people are looking for. And this is kind of a concern for clients.
Yeah, something to really think about. And Mike, we're not going to miss group 7. Sorry, I will come to you. Courtney, one thing to really think about is adaptability, right? The best, most profitable businesses on the planet are adaptable. The last pandemic will not be the last pandemic, right? I became an expert in grade 6 algebra because I moved my youngest daughter into my office, and I suddenly was building a company and a homeschool teacher and 50 million other hats, right? And I watched friends of mine literally melt down. If you follow me, my show is called Raw and Real Entrepreneurship. So I watched friends start day drinking, smoking pot. They couldn't handle it. And there was no adaptability. I was like, well, I have to be adaptable because this is what it is. So the big thing I will say is that the businesses that are adaptable, they're going to hire and retain the best employees. So right now, people may want to go to the office, but it doesn't mean they always will want to go to the office. But right now, the demand for hybrid, which and because the metaverse working experience is very realistic, you walk around and we are engaging, and it is very social. So let's say you and I work together, but I came down with COVID, but I didn't have symptoms. I could go to work and we could get stuff done, right? So start to expand, just really thinking about that. Okay, Mike, go for it.
Well, I think we have another designated speaker.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do it. So for group 7, I think one of the big questions that we walked away with was, like, where's the sweet spot? A lot of my clients are thinking about this on like a 5 to 8 year, in their 5 to 8 year radar, but which industries or types of clients does it make sense to be early adopters, or late adopters, and what does that look like for each of the companies? We were trying to understand what the timeline kind of is for the metaverse.
And that timeline is shifting, right? I don't actually believe Mark Zuckerberg's statement about 10 years, just knowing what he's building. Is he saying that because he wants to have a huge stake? Do you know they acquired Oculus in 2016? Oh gosh, I did a whole paper on this, I think 2014. They had metaverse aspirations over a decade ago. They were very clear. So all of this stuff that they started to talk about last fall is not new to them. This was always the plan. Super quick, I also see group 8 has a slide? Or is that group 7 on group 8 slide?
It is group 8. We could go.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so from who needs to be involved, we said, I guess we didn't complete that percentage, but for the most part, it's really the same players that are involved today. We're not doing anything different in terms of building space or leveraging technology to be able to optimize processes. We're just doing them in a virtual world as opposed to in the physical world. And so we'd still need the same types of stakeholders. But for number 2, which I forget what the question was related to that, I think that was how are we seeing that it would be leveraged? We said that it really varies by application. Most of the clients that we're working with today are really interested in digital twin. So that's sort of the immediate application of it. And then the other thing that people seem to be really excited about is just the fact that it democratizes access to the office. And in that it allows for collaboration, collision effect. Not everyone has the luxury of working in a region where there is an office. And so being able to have those same experiences from home, or if maybe the nearer term going into an office, but being able to collaborate more easily globally. And then limitations or areas where we see that they're going to slow progress. It's really the fact that right now there's a hardware limitation, and I think there's cost and training associated with that. So those are barriers to entry. And then there's a lack of a commercial model or solution. Obviously, you've mentioned Facebook a couple of times, or the metaverse. That in order to activate your Oculus, you need to connect it to a Facebook account. And so they really need to think about how they want to commercialize that for B2B as opposed to B2C. And then we didn't get to number 4, but I think just without, I guess, the input from the rest of the team, that is kind of contributory to our comment to number 3. Security is a huge issue. And I think especially people have a lack of comfort around for work needing to connect their personal lives into that.
Laura, that was beautiful. And to your point with regard to Facebook, they are working on B2B. And in fact, their initial rollout, to my knowledge, will be more focused B2B. So think about Facebook groups, but Facebook business will have, your company will have its own secure private quote unquote group. And they're already running internal meetings in those groups for Facebook. So they're already doing it, right? We have no time for questions because we're at the end of our time, but in the chat, hopefully you got some value out of this. So if you did get some value, just say yes. Even if it left you with more questions, because candidly, I wouldn't have done my job if I didn't leave you with more questions. And I really did come here to serve. And again, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but if the one gift would be that if you do go back to your teams and have a lunch and learn, have some kind of dialoguing session, would you please let me know? And just on LinkedIn, just let me know, because that would really, it's I think where we're at in this evolution is it's time to start talking about it, and companies that are not talking about it are burying their heads in the sand. So with that, Brigitte, I'm going to pass it over to you, but thanks everyone for sharing and love the dialogue. It was awesome.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Susan. That was an amazing job, and really, amazing. You're a wealth of knowledge. So thank you on behalf of CoreNet New York City. Thank you to all for attending today's event. We will share the slides with you all. The Berman Group will do after this. And if you have any question, as Susan mentioned, she's available. You can reach out on LinkedIn. Please connect with her, and do not hesitate to reach out if you have any other questions. Thank you to all, and have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.